Hello and welcome to another episode of the Common Man's Take on Sports with Kevin and
Quentin.
All right, so let's talk about Week 2 in the NFL. There's a couple other things I want to talk about too after we kind of go through some of these games. Let's start with the Philadelphia-Minnesota game. No surprise there. Philadelphia beat Minnesota 34-28. It was a close game though, a good game. Buffalo beat the Raiders 38-10. No surprise there. Baltimore and Cincinnati was a good game. We watched that one. Baltimore pulled it out 27-24. Kansas City Jacksonville was pretty close there for the most part, and Kansas City started pulling away a bit there in the second half. Kansas City wins 17-9. No surprise there. Tennessee and the Chargers. That one I felt like could have went either way. Tennessee pulls it out with a field goal, 27-24. Atlanta Green Bay game turned out to be a good game.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, Atlanta ended up winning by 1 point with a last-second winning field goal, 25-24. Indiana and Houston. I felt like that game could go either way, but I know that Houston didn't exactly have the best start last week against Baltimore either. So I really thought that the Colts could probably go ahead and win that, and they did, 31-20. Tampa Bay beat Chicago, which I figured that would happen, 27-17. The Giants did have a comeback. They came back they had one of their second largest comeback victory, I think, ever, and they won that game.
21-point deficit, I think.
Yep, it was 21-point deficit. You're correct. And they won 31-28. San Francisco took care of business, and they beat the Rams 30-23. That one got a little interesting there. Dallas 30-10 over the Jets. Washington and Denver.
That was a good one right there.
Denver got a Hail Mary there towards the end to throw some more points up on the board, but Washington beat them, so Washington is now 2-0. That one is surprising. Yes.
Yeah, that's very surprising. Usually, right now from last year, we don't expect Washington to be 2-0, but
Sean Payton's kind of eating his words right now, talking all that trash about Nathaniel Hackett, isn't he? He's 0-2. That might be karma coming back to get him. Miami beat New England 24-17. Obviously tonight we have
Monday night
Panthers and the Saints, which Saints will win that one. Their defense will definitely hold the Panthers.
It'll probably eat up Bryce Jones.
Yeah, that would be my guess. And then the Browns and the Steelers. Browns will probably win that one if they play like they did against Cincinnati. They'll definitely win that one.
Yep.
But I do want to talk about a couple of news stories that came out today.
Yep.
So one I was reading about earlier, and so a lot of times I feel like those talking heads at ESPN and Fox Sports and the sports news don't really get the story right, but I think this story they did get right. They were talking about Geno Smith and how he's reinvented himself in Seattle. And so I agree with that. When he first got drafted, he got drafted back in 2013 by the New York Jets. The New York Jets were really bad back then. He didn't really have anything to work with. He threw for 3,046 yards with a 55% completion percentage, but he had 12 touchdowns to 21 interceptions. That is horrible.
Oh, yeah, that's...
The next year, he had 13 interceptions and 13 touchdowns, and so on and so forth. Right? Everybody knows the story of him and falling off in the Jets scheme. They drafted Sam Darnold. The rest is history, right?
Yep.
He did 1 year with the Giants where he got minimal playing. They got mop-up duty. And then 1 year with the Chargers with mop-up duty. Then he went to Seattle. And so in Seattle, Russell got hurt a couple of times. And he got to play a few games here and there. But last year, they traded Russell Wilson, right, to the Denver Broncos in the offseason. So Geno got his first start for Seattle. And so sometimes this is one of those things for those players out there that maybe don't always make it at their first stop and they struggle a little bit, right? Don't give up. Geno didn't. And so he got his first start in Seattle. Um, he started all 17 games and played all 17 games. He had a 9-8 record, which isn't horrible. It's a winning record.
That's not bad.
However, what's important though is that his completion percentage was 69.8%, 399 at 572. He threw for 4,282 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions last year. That's actually pretty impressive. And so he found a team that he fit with, and he found a system that he fit with, and a coach that he fit with, right? A coaching staff. And now Geno looks good. He absolutely has reinvented himself in Seattle. And he had a good year last year, and he looks on his way to have another good year this year. Yeah, they kind of whiffed in week 1 against the Chargers. That happens. But yesterday, on Sunday, they came out and they won their game. They beat who did they beat?
The Lions?
Yes, they beat Detroit. Thank you. It was a tough game. They went back and forth. Detroit was leading for a little bit. Seattle was leading, and Seattle got the ball last and scored the last touchdown, and they won that game. It was a tough game, but they stuck it out. And so, that's pretty good. Geno's not a superstar, but you don't always have to be a superstar, right? He found his place. He found a team that he works well with, and it's working for him. And I think it's awesome. You always like to see players who stick with it find that place where they fit in. And he did. He found a place where he fit in, and he's doing well down in Seattle. I hope he continues to do well.
Yeah.
That's kind of a good story right there. Especially if he has another great year like that. I mean, that's pretty impressive to hang in there and stick around. So many players get frustrated and quit after their first or second stop. So that's pretty cool for Geno. That's my good story for the week. There is Geno Smith. That shows you what a little bit of patience and a little bit of perseverance can do for you, right? He had a whole lot of patience until he found that right team and that right system, and perseverance, right? Fighting through his struggles, and he found a place where he fits. That's pretty cool. So the other thing that I want to talk about here is Patrick Mahomes just renegotiated his contract with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I saw
so
that.
he just signed a contract a couple of years ago. So they literally restructured the agreement he already had, giving him $210.6 million between 2023 and 2026. Now this is the most money in NFL history over a 4-season span. And the money between those 3 years is now all guaranteed. So he's guaranteed to receive all $210.6 million. That's a lot of money, Quentin.
Yeah.
He was the 8th paid quarterback. Guess where he ranks now on the list?
2, 3.
Yeah, he's up there. That's going to make him about $52.6 million a year after restructuring that contract.
Wow, that's...
Which, he deserves it. He's led the Chiefs to 2 Super Bowl wins. He's won NFL MVP twice. So, he's also Super Bowl MVP twice. So, I mean, he's earned it. That's a lot of money, but he's earned it. He's probably one of the top few quarterbacks in the NFL. He's probably number 1, to be honest. I don't think you'll have anybody argue with you on that one. Another couple of things I want to talk about. They're pertinent here is Saquon Barkley yesterday twisted his ankle, so he's going to be out for 3 weeks. So that's another one of the running backs that was, unhappy with the contract negotiations, and the team kind of held steady on what they wanted to pay him. And so this is where that comes in right here, is the injury history, right? Saquon has an injury history, so the Giants don't want to get too invested in him because of that injury history. So they paid him just over what his franchise tag would be. So this is why teams are playing hardball with some of these running backs, because now you have J.K. Dobbins towards Achilles, out for the season. You got Saquon Barkley out for 3 weeks. It's tough for running backs, because you're one of the most injured players on the team. So unfortunately, that's a tough truth for the running back, and that's why a lot of teams don't want to pay them that big money.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Not a lot of surprises this weekend. Most of the games went kind of the way that I thought they would go. The Colts quarterback is out for a few weeks. He
got a concussion.
Yep. So he has to clear concussion protocol before he can play again. So he'll be out for a week or so. That's unfortunate. However, Gardner Minshew came in, and so they won that game with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. Hello, Jets. If you're out there looking, you may want to go over to the Colts and ask them if old Gardner Minshew is available.
Yeah, because right now he's looking pretty good as a backup. So
yep,
this could be the quarterback that the Jets need to replace Aaron Rodgers.
That is could be a true statement right there. Joe Burrow. I know that while we were watching that game, towards the end, he aggravated his calf muscle again. I saw him on the sideline several times, kind of trying to massage it. So they're not sure if he's going to play this week or not. He may have to sit out because of the calf injury. Another news story that came out today, and it started last year when Cam Akers asked to be traded. He asked to be traded in the offseason again. The Rams did not trade him. He's been splitting carries beginning of this year. And so Sean McVay, the head coach, came out today and said that the Rams are revisiting a trade for Cam Akers. And so basically that was the head coach saying that Cam Akers is available. Hello, Carolina Panthers. If you're listening, Cam Akers is available. He's a solid running back. He would be a solid addition to Miles Sanders. If you're paying attention, Carolina, call about Akers. See how much he costs. Akers was a healthy scratch against the Niners. They just didn't play him. And I believe that's because at that point they were planning on trading him. Right now, Akers is in the final season of his rookie contract, so whoever gets him will have to negotiate a longer-term contract, or maybe make him a one-season rental. If it doesn't work out, then you're not really tied to anything. You can cut him loose, let him go to the open market. So depending on what the Rams want for him, that might not be a bad chance to take. If you can get him on, I think you could probably get Cam Akers for a decent price, maybe a 3rd or 4th round pick. So we'll see what happens there. We'll keep an eye on that, see what happens with Cam Akers and where he goes, or who's in the market for him.
Yep.
What do you think about that, Quentin?
Well, I do think that it's the Rams' choice right now. It's either they trade him or they just let him go to the market next season. But I do agree with you. They could get him for a decent price, third, fourth. I do think Carolina could get him and have a decent addition, and that give Miles Sanders some time to just sit down on the bench, get a breather, while Cam Akers just plays that running back position right there. So that would be a good addition for Carolina. Yeah, so I feel like right now the Rams should probably trade him, and then whichever team he goes to, they can just renegotiate his contract, and it all work out for both sides.
I think he would get change the pace back alongside of Miles Sanders. He would you'd definitely be able to, you wouldn't have to keep Sanders on the field a lot. You could split the carries between the two. Akers has decent hands. In 2020, he had 11 receptions for 123 yards and a touchdown. And last year, he had 13 receptions for 117 yards. So he can catch the ball, maybe not as consistent as Christian McCaffrey, but he can catch the ball a little bit out of the backfield.
Yes, so that's another reason right there why he would be a good addition to Carolina. He can catch the ball, so, and that'd be a good addition. I think that helped Carolina out a lot with their receiving and the running.
Him going to Carolina is just wishful thinking for me, but I do think there'll be a market for Cam Akers. He is a decent running back. He's proven to be a decent running back. So I think that'll be fine. I saw that Zach Wilson came back down to earth yesterday and threw 3 picks in his game. That is why the Jets went out and got Aaron Rodgers, because has been, remember what I was talking to you about, the Jets decided he was not the answer or the quarterback of the future. That is why he turns the ball over a lot, and so that's why they need to find somebody else to facilitate, who takes care of the football and doesn't turn it over quite like Zach Wilson does.
Yeah, because kind of the problem is he needs to kind of learn on the sideline, because he got picked.
He's been learning on the sideline, and that didn't work.
Yeah, so right now there's really no other options.
Yeah, he had 12 of 27 which is under 50% completion percentage, 170 yards. Yes, they were playing the Cowboys, who do have a tough defense, but still, like 3 interceptions. That's 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. That's not very good.
Yeah, I mean, at least he would get 1 interception, but the Cowboys' defense isn't that good.
No.
3 interceptions just doesn't make any sense right now.
So I would, if I were the Jets, I would definitely keep looking for somebody else, because Zach Wilson isn't taking you to the Super Bowl, much less the playoffs. So you got to find that person, right? So there's got to be a decent backup that can be had for a decent price. So.
Yeah.
That was the most significant injuries for this week. Some of the games we went over. I'm excited to watch no, I'm not excited to watch the Carolina game tonight, because I know it's going to happen. But I'm a glutton for punishment, so I'm going to watch it anyway. I think that the Browns will dominate the Steelers. The Steelers did not look that good. They looked a little overrated in week one. We'll see what happens. But if Cleveland plays defense against Pittsburgh like they did Cincinnati, Cleveland should win that game. That should be a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think that the Browns can beat the Steelers, but I think that Kenny Pickett can have a better game. But I still think that the Browns will beat the Steelers. But I just think that Pickett will have a better game. For the Saints and Panthers, it's right now the Saints for me. I just think that the Saints are a little too good, and I think that the Panthers are just gonna be sleepwalking in the second half, because that's what happened last game against the Falcons. The first half they did decent, and then in the second half they just powered off.
No, I'm going to tell you what happened between the Panthers and the Falcons. What happened between the Panthers and the Falcons is the Falcons figured out the Panthers don't have a deep threat for Bryce Young to throw to. So they played a short to intermediate defense and did not respect the Panthers' ability to throw the ball downfield, because they couldn't, and they knew they couldn't. So they kept them close to stop those short to intermediate passes Bryce Young was throwing, and that was the end of that game. They knew that Carolina just doesn't have a deep threat. DJ Chark was supposed to be their deep threat, but he missed week one due to an injury. And so unfortunately they really don't have a deep threat outside of that. That's one of the things that they failed to get Bryce Young for his first year, is a deep threat. And unfortunately, when a team doesn't have to respect your deep ball because you don't have anybody to throw it to, they know what you're going to do. They know that if you're not running the ball, you're going to throw it short, right? So they play his defense accordingly. And that's what they did. Once they figured that out, they stopped Carolina's offense in its tracks, because they knew they weren't going to throw the ball deep. That's the unfortunate reality of knowing your team and knowing their roster. And I know that they do not have a deep threat on that roster. They should have done a better job at finding Bryce Young some better skilled players to play with.
Yeah.
So that is actually, there's one other thing that I want to talk about. It was let's talk about Brock Purdy for just a minute. So he was the last pick of the draft a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Irrelevant, right?
Yep.
And that's another example of somebody who just stuck with it, stopped, didn't let it bother them that they moved up to get Trey Lance. Trey Lance played in front of him. Garoppolo played in front of him. He was third on the depth chart, right? But he stuck with it, and now he's the starter, and he's doing fine. He protects the ball. He doesn't turn it over. He doesn't put it in harm's way. He's really playing extremely well for a guy who was the last pick in the draft. He's the San Francisco 49ers look good. They look like one of the probably the best team, the team to beat right now, as far as I can tell. Yep. 7th round, 262nd overall. And look at him now. He's not a superstar quarterback, but he's not a bad quarterback either. He doesn't turn the ball over. He keeps it, he makes good decisions with football, and that's all you can ask for from your quarterback. What do you think about Brock Purdy?
Yeah, what I think about Brock Purdy is that he's like Geno Smith. He's fighting through it. He's and look at him now. He was our last pick in the draft, and he led his team all the way to the NFC Championship game last year.
Yep, got hurt in the game.
Yep.
That's
Still,
unfortunate too, because you always wonder if he hadn't got hurt, would they have made the Super Bowl?
Probably, maybe. I do think that Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. He's a decent quarterback. He can he can really throw the ball to receivers that he needs to. Like he like you said, he doesn't turn the ball over. That's one of the great things about him is that he doesn't turn the ball over, and that's gonna really change the game for the 49ers, and it might lead the 49ers to the Super Bowl if he keeps being a good quarterback for the 49ers.
Yep. So that'll do it for our show today. Don't forget, we have a YouTube channel now. If you don't listen to podcasts, you can go to our YouTube channel to listen to our shows. It is called The Common Man's Take on Sports. You can search it. We also have a Facebook page. It's under first name Kevin, second name Quentin. We also post our episodes there. And don't forget that we are on most podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts,
iHeart.
Yep, iHeart, FM, several platforms. So if you like our show, please subscribe and hit the like button and leave us a rating. And if there's something that that you want us to talk about, you can go over to our Facebook page and leave a comment, and we'll see if we can't discuss it. But other than that, that's our show for today. We thank you for listening, and we hope you join us next time.